Welcome to our next episode. And today we've got a new guest, and her name is Iris. And I'd like to get Iris to introduce herself. So, who is Iris, and why do you do what you do?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for having me, Megan. It's such a delight to be able to be part of your journey and you be part of my journey in this way. So my name is Iris, for those who Iris is a difficult one, originally from the Netherlands. And I grew up in a very small town near the center of the country. Um, and yeah, why do I do what I do? I think is a good question. And I actually have to answer that in a way of like, what else is there to do, right? We're in these times, and whatever story you connect to being in this time, whether it's the evolution of humanity, the the sixth extinction, the new Earth story, whatever. I think we all have a role to play, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just trying to play this role that I I intuitively feel I have in this greater transformation, transition, evolution that we are a part of right now.
Yeah, that's
So.
so awesome. I love that. And we were talking earlier about your long your long volunteer work that you're doing in Costa Rica. So, love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you ever heard about something called karma yoga or seva, like service, like the act of unconditional service as a way to kind of, um, grow as a human being, but also to like what we are here to do. We are here to be in service to others, and so over the last decade, actually, my first volunteering experience was when I was 16, and I was helping out handicapped kids on like in the stables who wanted to ride horses. And then I was 18, and my my mom asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I want to go abroad, and I want to do something useful, like spend years in high school just learning about math and language, and failed a bunch of my exams and had way too much stress." And I'm like, I actually want to do something useful with my hands. So I went to Cambodia, and I volunteered for 5, 6 weeks at an orphanage where I built a
Wow.
shower with my own hands.
Wow.
And yeah, so we also did some paving for a playground. Then I went to Thailand, did the same thing. Not the shower thing, but I did that in an indigenous tribe, just helping with whatever I could. And over the course of time, then I started, like to learn, hey, we're really here as human beings to do something greater than what we're being taught. And that was something that I realized when I was 18. I just kind of forgot about that when I started studying again and just got caught up in this whole idea of a career, and was like, oh wow, what am I here to do? What am I here to do? And then I was having this corporate sustainability consultancy job, which was for is great, and for some it is still great, but for me it wasn't. So at the point that I needed to quit because I was burned out, I was like, I need to do something different, but I don't know what. And whatever comes up right now, we'll see how it goes. But I just want to actually, the thing that I mostly want to do is just get my hands in the soil again and work with the land, work with people. And then all of a sudden, this job came up that allowed me to give tours in the dunes of the Netherlands. So I was paid to be outside, tell people about plants, which is pretty awesome. The most beautiful thing about that job was too, it was connected to tourism. So in the winter in the Netherlands, there's not much tourism. So I had the time off, and I went for a long travel that I was already aspiring for a couple of years, visiting some friends in Colombia and Costa Rica that I've met over the course of my studies. And then at one point, I was in Colombia and I went to the Amazon and I fell in love with the Amazon. I was just like, wow, this jungle, this peace, this is so precious. And these people, these indigenous people, these native people to this place are so important. And there's so much knowledge there. And I was just, soaking it all up. And already there, I got like a little offering of like, hey, if you ever consider volunteering, come here. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel at home in the jungle with all the critters and the mosquitoes and everything. Didn't have an issue with all of that. But I went to visit my friends in Costa Rica afterwards. So I said, no, I can't because I'm going to be visiting my friends in Costa Rica and maybe I'll come back, if, if life ends up that way. And then I came here in Costa Rica and that was 2 weeks prior to meeting my friends because they needed to get like their holidays for it. So I arrived 2 weeks earlier than we would meet up. And I was like, wow, I'm actually kind of tired of traveling and just basically walking around with a credit card in my hand in order to do whatever it is. Because in Costa Rica, you even need to pay in order to go into nature from time to time.
Oh,
Like
okay.
all these parks, they're just, yeah, that you all need to pay for those parks. And there are some trails that you can do on your own, but it's quite difficult to get around if you don't have a vehicle or whatever. So I was like, wow, I would love to be just in one place. And then one of my friends from the Netherlands happened to be here too, and we met up, and I'm like, I'm actually kind of tired. I just want to be in a place. And she said, hey, but why don't we do a work exchange? And we look at this platform and then we volunteer. And in order for that, we get to stay somewhere for a longer time. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds actually pretty awesome. Let's go for that. And then my friend found this place. And at first I wasn't impressed at all. I'm just like, yeah, let's go, let's see what it is. And yeah, and then as soon as I arrived here, something happened that I'm like, wow, this is where all the threads of what I ever imagined to be possible in work, like, all the types of work that I was dreaming about doing in my life. But then a lot of people say, yeah, I need to do that outside of my work or something. For me, it all came together in this place. So it was supporting the local farmers, creating economic opportunities for people to develop businesses that actually strengthen the local economy and the local community. And it was about healthy living. It was about growing food here. This, and I'm still sitting here right now in this community hub right now at this moment in time, this evening, called Los Higuerones, that has all those elements of how we as a human species can live harmoniously with each other and with this greater than human world that we're a part of. So at one point I was like, shit, if this is really that thing that I always dreamt of, like, am I gonna, like the fact that it doesn't pay me in financial means, am I gonna let that determine if I'm gonna be doing this, and if I just want to just maybe see if I can keep making it work. And then I was like, yeah, hell no. I'm not gonna let money decide what I'm gonna be doing in my life. So and that was the day that I decided I'm gonna be doing this, and everything in the whole freaking universe is gonna be arranged in such a way that I can keep doing this. And that was 2.5 years ago that day. And here I am.
Yeah.
And it still works.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So
And I was going to ask you, so you're helping these businesses, the local farms, doing so much for the communities. And how has been their reception? Because I know that you're coming in as like a foreigner, going to Cambodia, Thailand, like all these places. How do they respond to you when you come and help them? Like what's been the experiences?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. Because I think a lot of times a lot of people overlook that question and think, oh yeah, I'm helping them and they're happy to receive help. Um, so my approach actually in these type of situations has always been of like, instead of coming here with a plan of like, okay, how should we change them, you know? It's like, no, let's just meet them what they actually need. So basically what we're doing at Los Higuerones is in such a way that it's like it's only things we're doing are the things that the community really needs. And we do that without like saying, oh, look at us doing this, or look at me being an angel, or like, no, we don't talk, we just do it, and we show up continuously, like, even if it's like four people, you just show up. And it's the same with what I did this evening, like, there is this woman that I go to from time to time and I bring her food, but I don't talk about that with a lot of people that I do that. I just do it. I show up and then I sit with her. She tells me the story of how she's not even able to pay gas right now and hadn't eaten for 4 days. And then, yeah, I give her a blessing and she gives me a blessing and I go home. And that's just what you do. That's what we do as humans. We support each other. So it's kind of like if you show up in the way of like, hey, I'm just here to support you with whatever,
Mm.
then people are like, oh yeah, come on, let's get to work, And then there is actually an integration taking place between foreigners in the local community, and
Yeah.
that's what has happened here at Higuerones, and resulting in that most of the things that are part of Los Higuerones and started by Los Higuerones and driven by Los Higuerones as like this community hub are actually like in the end carried by the local people, and they
Yeah.
show up for it.
Yeah, also I'm interested in because you've spent all this energy, time on helping others, going to these different countries. How has it changed who you are? Like, have you had this moment in your life where you felt like, wow, something has shifted within you on a spiritual level?
Well, I think for me, it's just that it happened gradually. Like you just shared with me something about the seven whys. I think that's a really interesting way for people to kind of get to a transformative point. I don't know exactly. Maybe you want to tell a little bit more about that after I share my story, because I would love to hear a bit more. Um, but I think over time, I just started to recognize what the stories were that actually were driving my behavior, because I got so many different perspectives, and especially I got a lot of perspective from the or a lot of yeah, a lot of input from a perspective of people that are below the poverty line. And that was in Cambodia the case, in Thailand, in like, and here. So um you start to realize how rich you are.
Hmm.
And within that, you also start to realize the privilege that we have. And I think that has been one of the key points in my life, that I really started to feel the amount of privilege that I had. And with that, I needed to work through a lot of shame and guilt.
Hmm.
And working through that one, that just catalyzed my way forward into like, yeah, and I'm gonna do everything I can to put this type of privilege into service of those who need it, because I believe that that in the end brings the balance to what we are here seeking within ourselves and within the world. of equality and peace and harmony and belonging and purpose. But I'm wondering about you too. How was it for you?
Um, you mean when you want me to explain what the seven whys was?
Yeah,
Or yeah, so I will kind of briefly explain. I mean, it's not very it's not a complicated kind of thing. So what I did was I went into why I'm doing this business. So why am I running this business? Why did I choose this? And then I wrote the reason. And then the next question, so level two is why is this important? So why is what I wrote, why is that important? So then I wrote the reason for that. And then, as you go deeper and deeper, I kept asking why. Why is that important? Why is that important to me? And then all the way to level seven. So level seven is the answer to that is it's going to like completely break you, like probably gonna cry. So that is the whole purpose of that exercise is to really connect you back to your purpose because I've had moments in life. I mean, I guess most of my life, I've been like, oh, I don't know where I'm going, I'll do something, but it's not quite what I want. So, and when I was doing the training for my work that I'm doing now with holistic healing and hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, it's it's everything like really made sense. And then when I connected all of that, like that last seventh level was the reason, like that was because if you connect to your purpose, connect to your reason for why you do what you do, it's not just, yeah, like you said before about the money. Because obviously, I mean, I've made that mistake before where I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this because the money seems okay, seems good. And then you do it, but it's not even aligned to you. It's not even like the job is not even suited to your lifestyle and what you want. So I've made those mistakes as well. And then going to doing this exercise, yeah, I know that doing this work is 100% aligned to my purpose.
nice. And that's such a useful thing, like also to realize that we actually have a role and a purpose. And then even that role might change over time because you
Yeah.
might be like the light leader now, and then all of a sudden another layer of the onion peels
Yeah.
off, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, well, actually, maybe I'm a shadow worker. Like, whoops. So that's the beautiful thing. I think in a way too, for me with this volunteering work, you asked me about the key transformation point. It's like, yeah, there's not a key transformation point. There are many moments that I'm just like, okay, this is really revelating. Yep, this is really liberating. Wow. And yeah, I just wish that a lot of people start realizing that once you get through those muddy moments, that you actually maybe rather not face, that actually in that moment and in that fear and in that feeling, you're you're acknowledging something in yourself and retrieving a part in yourself that then remarries with something else in your heart. And that's how you slowly start to become whole, slowly start to become like more aware of your purpose as a human being, and our beautiful gifts that we bring to the world. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing such beautiful insights in your journey. And I wanted to ask you about I saw on your Instagram you mentioned something about dream weaving. Do you mind talking a little bit
Yeah.
about what that is? Because I've never heard what that before. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you shared with me about the how you came to the terminology light leader,
Mm.
the terminology dreamweaver came literally into my life, but
Oh,
then by my partner.
yeah.
And I was just I've like I've just worked my way through my life, but at this moment I'm living my dream, and I know that I wove my dream into my life. And I'm actually everyone that I work with, which is really interesting too. It's like everyone that I work with starts to weave their dreams into their life, even if it's just unconsciously. And at first, I did it unconsciously too. And now he had, well, now at one point he told me, he was like, you know what you do? You're a dream weaver. And I'm like, a dream weaver? And then I remembered because I heard the terminology a couple of years ago, but actually I remembered it from a dream. So,
Oh,
and then I started realizing that I have always naturally, very naturally, organically made my dreams happen. Not in the time frames that I wanted them to be, but like it happened over time. So that was really interesting. And then I came back to that term and I was like, I need to look this up. So I looked up the terminology Dreamweaver, and it's an ancient practice done by many traditional cultures actually of using your daydream to set your night dream and use your dreams at night as points of information for your day. And that's how you basically continuously are, well, if you really want it, like living in a dream. And like because you live in that dream starts to take place in your reality because you start acting like it. And then slowly, parts of the puzzle of things that you're bringing into reality of that dream fill up, like, yeah, make your reality up to the dream. So that's how you're almost like stitching the threads, and each time you weave another thread and then you weave another thread. So I'm starting a journey in that for people who want to join. It's next week, it's starting. It's super exciting for me because it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna combine it with some modern day theories that are really known to be transformative for individuals and groups. But also like it's also made up in such a way that anyone after this journey can help others in like going through that transformation and becoming aware of, okay, what is the thread that I'm now needing to stitch in order to bring another step of my dream into reality. Because a lot of the things around dreaming and bringing it into reality is like, where do I start, right? So it's not necessarily about, okay, what is your dream? Yeah, that's great. But it's more about, okay, how do I sense which step is ready to become alive? And another thing is dream weaving and manifesting. It might sound quite similar. The big thing around manifesting at this point is that it's a trend, in my opinion, that is very focused on self-actualization. So us as humans creating our most beautiful world. And dream weaving is focused on us humans as part of this organism called Earth, because it's, you know, embedded in the indigenous practices, the dream weave. So us humans, a part of Earth, are creating the heaven on Earth, and that's what we are here to weave into existence. So it's about not the self-actualizing element, it's about self-transcendence. So that's the difference between dream weaving and manifesting, at least for me.
yeah,
Mm,
that's awesome.
there might be
Mm.
other people saying different things.
Yeah, no, that's your yeah, that's your perspective and your experience, and it's so nice to really hear that coming from your side. And I wanted to ask you about that actually, about your so your business, your offer. What exactly does that involve? Because yeah, I think we haven't mentioned that yet.
So the dream weaving journey itself is an 8-week program from next week until right after solstice is the last session. Um, and it focuses on basically what's your dream, how do you remember your dream, and then what Like, how do you sense what is ready to come alive and start practicing with that? And then it's about 3 or 4 sessions around blockages that you need to work through in order to really first become present to see what's ready to come alive. Second, to um, practice discernment. Is this the right step for me in the highest good of all of life on earth? And third, it's about trust and courage. So those elements will be part of it. And the modern day framework that we're using is Theory U by Otto Scharmer. And yeah, he is a professor at MIT in the States and developed this behavioral framework in order to transform from point A to point B in a way that you really go through the mud and pull out whatever is there that is limiting you from crystallizing that what you're here to be crystalline, what you're here to crystallize, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And it's so it's an 8 week journey, and do you t accept people? Is it an online thing or
Yeah, it's
yeah?
online. Only live sessions though. It's not
Okay.
self-paced. Maybe some exercise, but I think we're in a time right now that we really need personal connection. So it's an 8 week, and the sessions will be planned in a collaborative way, so everyone can join, and they work for every time zone. And then they're also gift based. So, which means that we'll have an intro conversation, and then we'll just see whatever the thing is that you can contribute to the journey or to my life, and that, yeah, and how the exchange works.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that's really
Yeah,
nice.
so
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Um, and how long have you been doing this, starting this, doing this program? Like when did you start?
Well, this is actually the first one,
Okay.
but I have been doing individual work with people for the last decade.
Oh,
So I think, yeah, I started a decade ago with with helping the first people in what is it that you're struggling with, and yeah, how can you move through that in order to really find that thing in your heart that that is here and yours to do.
thank you
Yeah.
so much, Iris. Yeah, so last question is where do people find you? Where, if they want to sign up to this program that's starting soon, where's the best place to find out?
Um, yeah, I would just say contact me through my Instagram, Step into Regeneration, or they can contact me through my email, worksofiris@gmail.com. And yeah, I happily, reply to any of the messages and the questions. And I'm also just very grateful for having this opportunity to talk with you, Megan, because yeah, it's beautiful to just be in a space with someone who's really stepping into their light. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was so nice to communicate, to have this conversation with you as well, Iris. Like it's so rare to meet someone like you, so I appreciate that. Appreciate your time. I know it's late, so yes, so grateful.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you.